Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is such a cloudy, kind of rainy day outside. Such a great day to drink some tea and meditate and read meditations and ponder the philosophies of the world. Or take a nap and rest in bed like my husband is doing and like I will be doing here when I finish making my videos for the day. So I have picked two videos. I have picked two books to read from today. The first one is Melody Beattie, Journey to the Heart. I just looked at the title and I really liked the title of the meditation today. And the second one is from Meditations for Living in Balance, Daily Solutions for People Who Do Too Much by Ann Wilson Sheff. And you guys know, if you have been following along on this channel for a while, that this has quickly been turning into one of my favorite meditation books. So let's get right into these meditations and read from them and see what they have to say to us. Oh, I turned right to it. That was crazy. September thing. I can't speak today. What is wrong with me? September 3rd. Things are working out. Right now, this moment, things are working out. We natter away, trying to control, shape, and form, trying to figure things out. We back off, then come closer. We worry and wonder. But things are working out. Things are working out as beautifully and divinely as possible. The dance of life is taking place in sync with the rhythm of the universe. Everything is working out, moving forward, evolving. There is a rhythm, an energy, a life force that continues, that shapes, that grows. You do not have to fight, resist, control, or even understand it. All you need to do is be. Be present for your life, your love, yourself. Your soul will lead you on. Your inner voice, your heart, is leading you on. Quiet your mind and trust that where you are and where you're being led is perfect. Page turn. You don't have to try to get it all together. You don't have to strive to have it all. You already do have all that you need. How many times have you been through an experience, fretting and fearful about the shape things were taking, only later to exclaim, "Oh, I see now. Things were working out all along." Learn to say and believe that now. Let your mind see what your soul already knows. Things are working out perfectly. I really like this meditation as kind of a regular reminder when I'm going through stuff that, you know, first of all, that I'm not in control of things. And even if you're not a spiritual person and you don't believe in some kind of higher power, the reality is you're not really that much in control of any kind of outcome in the universe, even as much as you think you are, right? Like, we have very limited control over what happens to us. And, you know, I think, like, with my mom getting sick and then passing away, one of the great lessons that came with that tragedy was that I realized that sometimes the worst things that happen on a random Tuesday afternoon, you know, that you don't expect, that you can't control. You know, I can remember like getting a call from my dad and he said, you know, your aunt called and your mom was unconscious in the shower when she went over there and we had to rush her to the hospital and they're admitting her. Like, I had no clue that was about to happen, right? You know, and then my mom eventually going into a coma. I can remember the day they called me and told me that. And you know, it was like all of that. No matter how much I tried to control it, no matter how much I tried to, you know, do this or do that or get things into order, there was only so much that I could do. And the rest, I had to kind of like let go and let God. And that's what works for me. You know, maybe for you, if you're not a spiritual person, it's let go and let the universe take over or whatever. But it's not even about trusting the process, which you know I do believe in. I do believe in trusting the process and trusting the journey. What it is about is kind of exhaling and realizing there is only so much that I can control. And one of those things that I can control is taking care of myself, you know? I have seen people try to control every aspect of this and that and this and that, and when things are going on, that they're kind of losing themselves in the middle of it, and what you realize kind of standing back watching it is, they're not really good for anybody right now, even though to them, they think they're managing everything and taking care of everything and controlling everything, and they're doing all of it, right? But they're like so kind of like off in all of it because they're not taking care of themselves the most. And I always say this with like the idea of martyrdom, you know, when you talk to people and they'll say, well, I take care of this person, I take care of that person, and I do this and I do that and I do this and I do that. And I'm always like, well, do you take care of yourself? Because we first have to be, taking care of ourselves before we can be helpful to other people. That's just a known fact, right? Like, if we are not well, we are not good for anybody else. We can't be present for anybody else. And so I think that that's really important to remember. And one of the things that we know with that is we only can control so many things. As an addict and an alcoholic, this idea of control was so hard because, initially it's about trying to control how much you're using, how much you're drinking, how your substances you're using, right? And you'll say, okay, tonight when I go out, I'm only going to drink this much, or I'm only going to spend this amount of money, or I'm not going to use this, or I can remember, with saying that, I'll never use this. And then when I use that substance, it was like, well, I'll never use that. And then I use that. So it just kind of, went up and up and up. And so this idea of control to alcoholics and addicts is this idea that we have no definition for whatsoever. We have no idea of what control is, So to come into the program, and I know that a lot of people don't like this idea, and to say that I don't have any kind of control in my life whatsoever over these things, I think it's hard to realize that. And then what you start realizing is I only have control over certain things in my life. I have control over my responses and my reactions to how I respond or react to certain situations in my life. I have choice. I have control over what I choose to do and not do in certain situations. And really all I have any kind of control over is myself, and outcomes, even then, I don't have control over. It's just my response to outcomes. The thing I will tell you is, as tricky and hard as that is at the time, because there's been so many situations in my life where I just was like, I knew that I just needed to kind of sit back and let things unfold the way that they were going to unfold. It's so scary because the unknown is what is so fearful, right? You have no clue what's going to come next. So that's so scary. But you really don't have any control over it anyway. So to attempt to try to have control over something that you don't have any control over anyway is pointless, right? And we know that, and we've learned that, and over time we get better with it. And you just have to practice it, you have to practice letting go. And I have done that, and I continue to do that. But I will have to continue to do that for the rest of my life. This is not something that I will ever be perfect at, I have to remind myself, okay, this is a situation where you just don't have a lot of control over it, and it's going to turn out the way that it's supposed to turn out, or it's going to turn out some way, and you'll either deal with it or react to it or respond to it how you want to, and at that time is, whatever. But I think if I have wasted a lot of time in my life by scripting outcomes in my head of how things are going to go, how conversations are going to happen, what's going to happen if this happens, and what's going to happen if that happens. And, my old sponsor used to say to me, 99% of the things I worry about never even happened, right? And I have spent so much of my life worried and consumed about how things are going to turn out that I think in my mind that was my attempt to kind of control those situations, when in reality I had no control over those situations at all, And once I started accepting that and I started realizing you only have so much control over any given situation, that my life seemed to become a little bit more calm and serene, because then I could just respond to each day and what was handed to me each day, That doesn't mean that you don't plan for the future, or you don't plan for the things that are happening, but what it means is that you don't live in a complete state of frantic, oh my God, I gotta do this, and I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think any of us make wise decisions or control anything any better when we're in a state of being frantic, So anyway, that was a good meditation, and I need to remember that as well. All right, from the Meditations for Living in Balance, let's read from September 3rd. Hold on a second. Put my glasses on. September 3rd. Advice. Get the advice of September 3rd advice. Get the advice of everybody whose advice is worth having. They are very few. And then do what you think best yourself. Charles Stewart Parnell. Advice is tricky. We usually seek it only when we do not want to take responsibility for our own decisions, when we do not want to make a decision, or when we want to reject it. Rarely do we approach advice gathering honestly. In order to gather advice honestly, we have to feel strong enough in ourselves to be genuinely open to what is said. being open to changing our previous opinion. Many people believe they can do this. Few can. Second, we have to be in a position clearly to weigh the information shared to see what is valuable for us. Then we have to be able and willing to move forward with our decision, knowing that it is our decision and that we are responsible for it regardless of the advice given. Getting advice can be very valuable if we understand how to use it. Don't give advice to those who don't know how to use it, and don't ask for advice if you can't use it judiciously. What a powerful meditation, and what a great meditation that would have been powerful for me to read when I was 20 if I had really taken to it and learned from it, because one of the things that I used to do when I was younger was, if I wanted advice on a certain situation, whatever that situation was, typically it was a lot about like romantic relationships, I think, in the past. I would ask 6 people until I heard exactly what I wanted to hear. And then I'd be like, oh my God, like they're so right, like they're so right. But like ignoring the 5 people previous to that. And what I have learned as I have gotten older is that when people give you advice or suggestions, okay, unless they are people, I think we all know people like this that are just constantly giving out unsolicited advice. I can be like this sometimes, but I'm talking about the person that just comes across as callous and rude and always kind of condescending and patronizing, right? And everything you do is stupid. I'm not talking about, we know people like that in our lives. I'm talking about the majority of people that really care about us and love us, right? And when they give us suggestions, and they say things to us, it's because they really love us and care about us, and they want what's best for us, right? So to just dismiss the advice that they're giving us, it's like, did you guys ever hear that song back in the day? I love that song. It's like, wear your sunscreen. I don't, that's what it's called, but I think it's like 50 things it gives advice on, right? But it says in there something like, advice is a form of flattery. And I remember hearing that and I thought, God, that's so true. And as I've gotten older, I've really realized that, that when people give you advice, it's a form of flattery. What they're saying is, I love you and care about you enough that I'm giving you advice because I want you to have the best life possible, and I don't want you to just sit in this crap and have to continue to just struggle, And I can remember on a couple situations, my dad would give me advice, and there was a situation that I asked him about, and he goes, are you asking me because you're actually going to take my advice, or are you going to waste my time and not listen to anything that I have to say? And that was based on the fact that I had wasted his time and not listened to anything that he had to say. But what I realized in that moment was my dad always gave me advice because he wanted me to have the best life, And he even said to me at one time, if I gave you advice and I told you all the mistakes I made and all the successes I had, and you did your life exactly like that, you'd have a great life. But you have to live your life and make your own choices. And when people give us advice, we have to make our own choices based on that advice and take responsibility and not later say, well, this person gave me advice, so it's their fault. No, it's our responsibility, and we have to own that. So it's a great meditation. I loved that. These were both good today. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.